What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. So I will be making schedule predictions for every single Power 5 team in college football for this upcoming season. And I'll also do a subsequent conference standings video once I finish every single team in a specific conference, just as a synopsis of all of my schedule predictions. And those synopsis videos will be coming later on into August as you get closer to the start of the season. Still have a lot of individual games to get to between now and then, though. So let's go ahead and get into the TCU schedule predictions. So some quick thoughts on the TCU program as a whole heading into 2022, and this one is interesting because of the hire of Sonny Dykes. Now, he certainly knows Texas football well, but his track record is honestly just average, as he doesn't have much history of elevating programs to new heights, but he also rarely has bad teams either. He never really has a team that's just terrible either. They're always kind of mid-level. And this year's Big 12 is notoriously even, and therefore it's going to be quite tough to have a winning season, and that's going to be a difficult ask here if you want to pull that off. So TCU has the roster to do it, but I mean, with the schedule that they're up against, plus the new coaching staff, it's going to be tough. There aren't many games where TCU is going to be completely outmatched, so that does give them a fighting chance in just about every game they play, meaning there's a lot of variability in this schedule depending on just how things play out for them. If things go their way, they can end up in the 7, 8, 9 win range. I mean, that would be really, really well. If things go really, really poorly, they could be as low as like 4. It just kind of depends on how things play out. So let's go ahead and look at some teams that aren't worth discussing very much because they just don't have much chance of winning, barring some catastrophe. And those teams are Tarleton State and SMU. So the first game that we're going to talk about opens the season on a Friday at Colorado. And this is a tougher game than you might think. It is always really hard to play on the road at Colorado. The altitude can be a problem first off, but then also it's just not an easy game. They're a better team than Colorado, but not dramatically better than Colorado. Colorado is no slouch by any means, and that's a tough opener. I think that they'll be good enough to go in there and get the win, but certainly not a game that you take for granted or you just chalk up as an easy win. Certainly not by any means. It's definitely a tough matchup there. It's open the season. I think it'll be a good test for them, though, get them ready for the season. So the next game we're going to talk about actually doesn't come until week 5 because TCU gets a week 3 bye week, which I hate those early in the season bye weeks, but it's just how the schedule works out for them. So in week 5, they host Oklahoma, and this one is a tough matchup. I don't see them winning this one. Oklahoma, while having a new head coach and all, they're still a much better roster than TCU at this point. TCU also has a new head coach and all that stuff. I know they're at home. I think Oklahoma is just dramatically better than them, to be honest. So I'm going to go with Oklahoma to win pretty big there. Next game up is a at Kansas road trip, and this one is about as easy as road trips can come within the conference. I mean, Kansas probably going to be a 2 or 3 win team, so I mean, not a very good one. Now, they're good enough to give somebody some scares along the way. I mean, they upset Texas last year, so don't ignore them completely by any means, but also I don't see them pulling off a win here. I'm going to go with the TCU to get that one. So the next game up is Oklahoma State, and that one is another just really, really tough game. Now, they get Oklahoma State at home, so that does help them, but very similar to the Oklahoma game, I don't think they have much of a shot in this one. Oklahoma State is just a dramatically better roster than them. It's not to say that they, completely are out of it. They do have some level of a chance in this. They can hang in there for a while, but I don't think they're going to be good enough to get the win against Oklahoma State here. I'm going to go with them to win pretty big. The following week, they play Kansas State, also at home, and this one is one that could really help change and determine the trajectory of your season. Now, I think Kansas State is slightly better than TCU at this point. I don't think that they're dramatically better than them, though, and if they want to get what's kind of an upset win, but not a huge win, but one that can really help them by the end of the season when they look back on it, this would be a really good one to get. I don't think they're going to be able to. I think Kansas State is going to win this game. I think they're just a little bit better. But definitely one that they have a great shot in, one that they should really, really, really hope to win if they want to push for anything above maybe 6 wins. This is one that could be a huge game for them. Still going to go with Kansas State, though. Next game up is at West Virginia, and I'm going to have to say that West Virginia is going to win this one as well. Now, one that, again, TCU has a good chance, and I think TCU is pretty even with West Virginia across the board. I think West Virginia probably has a slightly better quarterback situation with JT Daniels right now, but the rosters as a whole are pretty dang even. The home field advantage for West Virginia is going to be pretty apparent here, though. I think that could make the difference in this one. Because of that and the slight quarterback edge to West Virginia, I'm going to give them the win in that one. Next game up is Texas Tech, and they get them at home as well. And Texas Tech, another team that I think is right in that 6-win-ish range. They're very comparable to TCU roster-wise. I think TCU being at home here is a nice advantage. I think TCU is a little bit better than Texas Tech at this point. I'm going to go with TCU to win this game, but definitely a tough one to keep an eye on. And again, like we was talking about earlier, with how these things can violently swing, this is one that they could lose. And if they've lost that Kansas State one and lost that West Virginia one as well, you can see the season start to spiral. I'm going to say that they get the win here against Texas Tech in a big game, but still not one to take lightly. So the next game up is at Texas, and this is one that they just don't have much hope in, I don't think. Now, it's not a game to completely write off, but being on the road here is what makes the difference. If this game was at home, I'd give them a decent shot. Still probably would side with Texas, but on the road, Texas has just better players at this point. Bijan Robinson is one example. TCU just doesn't have a guy like that. And because of that, I'm going to go with Texas to win this one. I think Texas is the better team at this point. Again, they're also the home team at this point. Going to go with them to win there. Next game up is at Baylor, and another one where they're just outmatched a little bit. Now, another one that they could also get an upset win in. I wouldn't expect it, though. I'm going to go with Baylor to win this one. I think Baylor is a better team. Baylor is the home team, and I really like Baylor's coaching staff. They're not in year one at this point, so I'm going to go with Baylor to win that one. And then they end the year, they round it out with Iowa State. And Iowa State is a very, very interesting one for sure. I think the teams are pretty dang even across the board. And TCU gets this one at home. So this is one that is going to be really important to both teams on their schedule. At this point, I think both will be fighting around that 6, 7, maybe 8 win range. And it's one that's going to really help determine the trajectory of the season. Or not really the trajectory of the season because it's at the very end, but it's going to help determine how you look back on the season. And it's one that I think TCU gets a nice win in. Them being the home team, the rosters being pretty even, I think TCU fights through this one, gets a tough win to get them to bowl eligibility. So that's TCU 6-6 on the season, which feels pretty much right to me as the new head coach Sonny Dykes takes over the program. And if we're honest about things, like I said, he doesn't have the greatest track record with leading teams to an overachieving sort of record. His teams are rarely bad though, and he does know offense very well. But in this year's Big 12, and with him being in year one, getting beyond 6 wins is going to be difficult. The Iowa State game is no easy win, and neither are the Colorado and Texas Tech games. I could see 7-5, maybe 8-4 on the absolute high end, with 5-7 on the low end. So I'm going to split the difference there and end up with 6-6, being bowl eligible, and that's a decently respectable season for Dykes in year one. Anyway, though, that'll do it for this one. Let me know down below in the comment section where you guys agree and or disagree with me on the TCU schedule in 2022. Tell me what record you think that they're going to have next year and who, if anybody, they're going to lose to. Also, if you've made it this far in the video, be sure to go ahead and leave a like and subscribe to the channel for more college football content in the future. Like I said, I'm going to be uploading one of these videos for every single Power 5 team. I finished the ACC. I finished the SEC. I'm wrapping up the Big 12 today. So, going to move on to the Pac-12 after that and keep it rolling. Be on the lookout for all those. Check out the other ones if you haven't yet. Thank you all so much for watching. I'll see you guys next time.